The morning sun cast golden rays through the tall windows of Adelaide Cottage as Prince William adjusted his formal uniform one final time. Kate stood nearby, her elegant dress perfectly pressed, watching as their three children prepared for one of the most important days in British royal history. 9-year-old Prince George fidgeted with his miniature formal wear, while Princess Charlotte smoothed her dress with the careful precision of someone who understood the weight of the moment. Little Prince Louis, barely 4 years old, bounced, excitedly on his toes, not fully grasping the significance but sensing the energy around him. The family had risen earlier than usual that morning. Kate had spent extra time ensuring each child looked perfect, knowing millions of eyes would be watching their every move. William paced quietly, his mind running through the day's schedule and protocol. This was not just any royal engagement. This was a moment that would be remembered for generations, captured in photographs and recorded in history books for their children's children to see. Staff members moved efficiently through the cottage, making final preparations. Security details checked and double-checked every route, every timing, every possible scenario. The children's nanny offered gentle reminders about walking slowly, staying close to their parents, and remembering their manners. George, as the eldest, felt the extra responsibility of setting a good example for his younger siblings. Kate knelt down to Louis's eye level, speaking to him in gentle tones about what they would see and do. She explained how important it was to walk nicely and stay quiet during the special parts. Charlotte listened carefully, her young face serious with concentration. She had been practicing her curtsy and wanted to make sure she did everything correctly. The family shared a quiet breakfast together, though none of them ate much. The excitement and nervousness filled the air like electricity. William reached across the table to squeeze Kate's hand, both of them sharing a look that spoke volumes about their shared understanding of this moment's importance. They had prepared for this day for weeks, talking to the children about what to expect, rehearsing movements, and ensuring everyone understood their role. As the time approached to leave, final touches were made. Kate's hat was positioned perfectly. William's medals gleamed in the morning light, and the children stood in a neat line for one last inspection. The household staff gathered to wish them well, many of them having served the royal family for years and understanding the deep significance of this particular day. Outside, the sound of engines could be heard as their official cars warmed up. Security teams spoke into their radios, confirming all systems were ready. The world beyond Adelaide Cottage was already buzzing with anticipation, but inside, the family took a moment of calm together before stepping into the spotlight that awaited them. William looked at his three children, seeing not just the next generation of royals, but his beloved sons and daughter who would carry forward a legacy that stretched back centuries. Kate adjusted Charlotte's hair one final time and gave Louis an encouraging smile. The moment had arrived to leave their private sanctuary and step into history. The front door opened, and the Prince and Princess of Wales, with their three children, stepped into the bright morning light. Their journey to Westminster Abbey, and into one of the most significant moments in modern British history, was about to begin. Each footstep would carry them closer to a day that would be remembered and celebrated long after they were gone. Cucker. Children walked between their parents, small hands occasionally reaching up for reassurance. This was their world, their heritage, and their future, all wrapped up in a single extraordinary day that would forever mark their young lives. The royal convoy moved smoothly through the streets of London, each car filled with family members who would play crucial roles in the day's historic ceremony. Prince William sat beside Kate in the back of their official car, while the three children occupied the seats facing them. Through the bulletproof windows, they could see crowds of people lining the streets, many having camped overnight to catch a glimpse of the royal family on this momentous day. George pressed his face to the window, watching in amazement as thousands of people waved flags and held up phones to capture their passing convoy. He had seen crowds before, but nothing quite like this. The sheer number of people, the excitement in their faces, and the sea of Union Jack flags created a spectacle unlike anything in his young experience. Charlotte sat quietly, taking in everything with wide eyes. while Lewis pointed excitedly at the decorations hanging from buildings and lampposts. Kate held Lewis on her lap, pointing out interesting sights along the route and keeping him engaged with quiet conversation. She knew the journey could feel long for such a young child, and she wanted to make it an adventure rather than something to endure. William occasionally leaned over to explain things to George, sharing details about the buildings they passed and the history of the route they were taking to Westminster Abbey. The streets of London had been transformed for the occasion. Barriers held back the enthusiastic crowds while police officers and security personnel maintained order with professional efficiency. Street vendors sold commemorative items, and the atmosphere buzzed with celebration and anticipation. Many people in the crowd had traveled from far away, some from other countries, just to be part of this historic moment. Inside the car, the family maintained a calm composure despite the excitement building around them. William and Kate had learned, over the years, how to remain centered during high-profile events, and they worked to pass this skill on to their children. They spoke in normal tones, made gentle jokes, and treated the journey as just another family outing, despite the extraordinary circumstances surrounding them. The convoy made its way through central London, passing landmarks that had witnessed centuries of royal history. Each turn brought them closer to Westminster Abbey, where guests were already gathering and preparations were reaching their final stages. Television cameras captured every moment of their journey, broadcasting the images to millions of viewers around the world who were watching this historic day unfold. Charlotte asked quiet questions about what they would see when they arrived, and Kate answered each one with patience and detail. She wanted her daughter to feel prepared and confident rather than overwhelmed by the grandeur awaiting them. George, meanwhile, seemed to sense his special role in the day's events and sat with increasing seriousness as they drew closer to their destination. The crowds grew thicker as they approached Westminster, with people cheering and calling out good wishes. Some held signs with messages of support and celebration. The children waved back when they could, their natural friendliness shining through despite the formal nature of the occasion. Lewis's enthusiastic waves brought smiles to many faces in the crowd and would later become some of the most beloved images of the day. Security motorcycles flanked their car, while helicopters circled overhead, ensuring every aspect of their safety was maintained. The level of organization required for such an event was staggering, with hundreds of personnel working behind the scenes to ensure everything proceeded smoothly. William and Kate were acutely aware of the massive effort being made on their behalf and felt the weight of responsibility that came with such attention and resources. As they turned the final corner toward Westminster Abbey, the ancient spires came into view, rising majestically against the London sky. The building had hosted royal ceremonies for nearly 1,000 years, and today it would add another chapter to its remarkable history. The children fell quiet as they approached, sensing the solemnity and importance of the moment they were about to enter. The car slowed as they neared the Abbey, and through the windows they could see the red carpet, the waiting officials, and the hundreds of photographers positioned to capture their arrival. Kate gave each child a final word of encouragement, while William took a deep breath, preparing himself for the transition from private family man to public royal figure. The journey through London's streets was ending, but their journey into history was just beginning. The royal car came to a gentle stop outside Westminster Abbey, and for a moment everything seemed to pause. Through the tinted windows, Prince William could see the sea of photographers, their cameras already clicking in anticipation. Kate smoothed her dress one final time and checked that the children were ready. This was the moment they would step from the privacy of their car into the full glare of world attention. The door opened, and William emerged first, his tall frame cutting an impressive figure in his ceremonial uniform. He turned immediately to help Kate, extending his hand as she stepped gracefully onto the red carpet. The cameras erupted in a symphony of clicking sounds, capturing every angle of this historic arrival. Kate's dress moved elegantly in the gentle breeze, and her composed smile reflected years of experience in front of the cameras. Prince George followed next, walking with the careful steps of a boy who understood the importance of the moment. His young face showed a mixture of excitement and concentration as he took in the grandeur surrounding him. The sound of the crowd, the sight of the ancient abbey, and the knowledge that he was part of something truly special all combined to create a moment he would remember forever. Princess Charlotte emerged with perfect posture, her small hand reaching for her mother's as they stood together on the red carpet. Her eyes sparkled with wonder as she looked around at the magnificent setting. She had practiced walking slowly and standing still for photographs, and now all that preparation was paying off. Her natural grace and poise impressed everyone watching, both in person and around the world. Little Prince Louis appeared last, his 4-year-old energy barely contained as he took in the spectacle around him. His eyes darted from the photographers to the abbey's towering spires to the crowds of people watching from behind barriers. Kate kept a gentle but firm hold on his hand, knowing that his youthful spontaneity could create some of the day's most memorable moments. The family stood together for a moment, allowing the photographers to capture the historic image of their arrival. William's protective stance near his family, Kate's serene confidence, and the children's mix of excitement and good behavior created a picture that would grace newspaper front pages around the world. This was more than just a photo opportunity. It was a glimpse into the future of the British monarchy. Officials stepped forward to greet them, offering formal welcomes and brief updates on the ceremony's timeline. William shook hands and exchanged quiet words with key figures, while Kate received her own greetings with warm smiles and gracious responses. The children stood patiently, having been taught the importance of waiting quietly during these adult interactions. The red carpet stretched before them, leading to the abbey's ancient doors. Each step they would take along this path was being recorded by dozens of cameras and watched by millions of people worldwide. The weight of this attention was something William and Kate had learned to carry with dignity, and they were now teaching their children to do the same. Security personnel moved discreetly around them, maintaining a protective presence while staying invisible to the cameras. Every detail had been planned and rehearsed, from the timing of their arrival to the exact route they would take into the abbey. Nothing was left to chance on such an important day. The crowd's cheers grew louder as people caught sight of the royal family. Many called out personal messages of support and good wishes. The children's faces lit up at the friendly sounds, and Louis gave a few enthusiastic waves that delighted the onlookers. These spontaneous moments of connection between the royal family and the public created some of the day's most touching scenes. Kate knelt down briefly to adjust Charlotte's dress and whisper some encouraging words. This small gesture, captured by the cameras, showed the caring mother behind the royal title. William placed a protective hand on George's shoulder, a father's pride evident in his expression as he looked at his eldest son standing so bravely in such an overwhelming situation. The moment had come to begin their walk into Westminster Abbey. With measured steps and confident bearing, the Prince and Princess of Wales, accompanied by their 3 children, started their journey along the red carpet toward the Abbey's great doors. Each footstep carried them deeper into a ceremony that would mark not just this day, but their place in the long history of British royalty. Behind them, the cameras continued to capture every moment, preserving this arrival for future generations to study and remember. The transition from private family to public figures was complete. They were now part of the grand pageantry that makes the British monarchy one of the world's most watched and celebrated institutions. The massive doors of Westminster Abbey opened before them, revealing the breathtaking interior that had witnessed nearly 1,000 years of British royal history. Prince William led his family across the threshold, their footsteps echoing softly on the ancient stone floors that had been worn smooth by centuries of ceremonial processions. The children's eyes widened as they took in the soaring Gothic arches, the magnificent stained glass windows, and the sheer grandeur of this sacred space. The abbey was filled with distinguished guests from around the world, each person carefully seated according to strict protocol. Heads of state, members of other royal families, religious leaders, and dignitaries from every corner of the globe had gathered for this historic moment. As the Prince and Princess of Wales appeared with their children, a respectful hush fell over the congregation, all eyes turning to watch this significant entrance. Prince George walked carefully beside his father, his young mind trying to process The overwhelming beauty and importance of the setting around him. The boy had visited Westminster Abbey before, but never like this. Never as part of such a momentous ceremony. He could feel the weight of history in the air, the sense that he was participating in something much larger than himself. Princess. Charlotte held tightly to her mother's hand, her steps measured and careful as she had practiced so many times. Her wide eyes took in every detail, the ornate decorations, the colorful banners, the sea of faces turned in their direction. Despite her young age, she seemed to understand the solemnity of the moment and carried herself with remarkable composure. Little Prince Louis walked between his parents, occasionally reaching up to touch their hands for reassurance. The grandeur of the Abbey, the hushed voices of the enormous crowd, and the sense of anticipation in the air created an atmosphere unlike anything he had ever experienced. His natural curiosity was evident as his gaze moved from the towering ceiling to the elaborate decorations adorning every surface. Kate moved with practiced grace, her years of royal duties evident in every step. She maintained a serene expression while keeping careful watch over her children, ready to offer guidance or support whenever needed. Her own sense of wonder at the Abbey's beauty was carefully controlled, but those who knew her well could see the emotion in her eyes as she participated in this extraordinary moment. The family made their way to their designated seats, positioned to give them a perfect view of the ceremony's central events. Officials guided them with quiet efficiency, ensuring they reached their places without disruption to the careful choreography of the occasion. The children settled into their seats with the careful attention of young people who understood they were expected to be on their best behavior. Around them, the Abbey continued to fill with the world's most important figures. Each arrival was noted and appreciated, but the presence of Prince William and Kate with their 3 children held special significance for everyone present. These children represented the future of the monarchy, the continuation of traditions that stretched back through centuries of British history. The ancient stones of Westminster Abbey seemed to hold their breath as the ceremony's moment approached. This building had seen coronations, weddings, funerals, and countless other royal ceremonies, but each occasion remained unique and special. Today would add another chapter to the Abbey's remarkable story, with Prince William's family playing a central role in the unfolding drama. Ushers moved quietly through the congregation, making final preparations and ensuring everyone was properly positioned for what was to come. The lighting in the Abbey had been carefully arranged to highlight the most important areas while maintaining the building's natural spiritual atmosphere. Television cameras, discreetly positioned throughout the space, prepared to share this moment with viewers around the world. The children sat quietly, occasionally whispering questions to their parents, who answered in soft tones that wouldn't disturb the growing solemnity around them. George seemed particularly interested in the ceremonial guards positioned throughout the Abbey, while Charlotte was fascinated by the elaborate floral arrangements that decorated the ancient pillars. William and Kate exchanged meaningful glances, both recognizing the historic nature of this moment. They had attended many significant events together, but this one held particular importance for their family and their role within the royal institution. Their children's presence made the occasion even more meaningful, representing the continuation of traditions and the promise of the monarchy's future. The atmosphere in Westminster Abbey grew increasingly charged with anticipation as the final preparations were completed. The royal family sat together, surrounded by centuries of history and tradition, ready to witness and participate in a ceremony that would be remembered and celebrated for generations to come. The sacred halls had welcomed them, and now they waited for the extraordinary events that would unfold in this most holy of British spaces. As the ceremony began in earnest, Prince William and Kate watched with deep emotion as centuries of tradition came alive around them. Their 3 children sat between them, each responding to the grandeur in their own unique way. The ancient rituals, unchanged for generations, unfolded with precision and beauty that left even the most experienced royal watchers moved by the significance of the moment. Prince George leaned forward in his seat, his young face serious with concentration, as he tried to follow every aspect of the complex ceremony. His parents had explained much of what would happen, but experiencing it firsthand was completely different from any preparation. The music from the Abbey's magnificent organ filled the vast space, creating an atmosphere of reverence that even a 9-year-old could feel in his bones. Princess Charlotte sat with perfect posture, her hands folded carefully in her lap as she had been taught. Her eyes sparkled with wonder at the elaborate pageantry surrounding them. The ceremonial robes, the ancient symbols, and the careful movements of all the participants created a living tableau that captured her imagination completely. She occasionally glanced at her mother for reassurance, receiving warm smiles in return. Little Prince Louis struggled more with sitting still for such an extended period, but his parents managed his restlessness with patient whispers and gentle guidance. Kate had come prepared with small distractions, knowing that expecting a 4-year-old to remain perfectly still for hours was unrealistic. His occasional fidgeting and whispered questions became some of the most human and endearing moments of the entire ceremony. The emotional weight of the occasion was evident on William's face as he watched the historic proceedings. This was his heritage, his family's legacy, and his children's future all wrapped up in one extraordinary ceremony. The responsibility he felt as both a father and a future king was visible in his careful attention to every detail and his protective presence beside his family. Kate found herself deeply moved by the beauty and tradition surrounding them. She had married into this world, but moments like these reminded her of the incredible history and responsibility she had taken on. Watching her children experience this ceremony for the first time added another layer of meaning to an already profound occasion. The Abbey's acoustics carried every word, every note of music, and every rustle of ceremonial robes throughout the vast space. The children were fascinated by how their whispers seemed to echo, and their parents had to gently remind them to keep their voices extra quiet. These small human moments provided touching counterpoints to the ceremony's grand formality. Dignitaries from around the world watched not just the main ceremony, but also the royal family's participation in it. Many had their own children and could relate to the challenge of managing young ones during such a formal occasion. The way William and Kate handled their parenting duties while maintaining their royal dignity impressed observers and added to their growing reputation as a modern, relatable royal couple. The ceremony reached several emotional peaks, during which even the children seemed to sense the heightened significance. Charlotte reached for her mother's hand during one particularly moving moment, while George sat straighter in his chair, somehow understanding that something very important was happening. Louis, despite his young age, seemed affected by the serious atmosphere around him. Television cameras captured every expression, every gesture, and every interaction between family members. These images would be studied and treasured for decades to come, providing future historians with intimate glimpses into this royal family during one of the most significant ceremonies in modern British history. The children's natural reactions and their parents' loving guidance created scenes of universal appeal. The music swelled at key moments, filling Westminster Abbey with sounds that had echoed through the same space for centuries during similar ceremonies. The children were particularly fascinated by the magnificent organ, whose powerful notes seemed to vibrate through their bodies. Charlotte asked her mother in a whisper where such beautiful music was coming from, leading to a quiet explanation about the Abbey's musical traditions. As the ceremony progressed through its various stages, the royal family remained perfectly positioned to witness each significant moment. Their presence added weight and continuity to the proceedings, representing both the monarchy's present strength and its future promise. The sight of 3 young children participating in such ancient traditions created a powerful symbol of continuity and renewal. The formal conclusion of this portion of the ceremony approached, but the impact on everyone present, especially the royal children, would last a lifetime. They had witnessed history being made, participated in traditions stretching back centuries, and played their own small but important roles in one of the most significant days in modern royal history. The memories being formed in those sacred halls would influence and inspire them for all their future years as members of the British royal family. As the ceremony drew to its conclusion, Prince William and Kate exchanged glances that spoke volumes about what they had just experienced together as a family. The children, despite their young ages, seemed to understand that they had been part of something truly extraordinary. The weight of history, the beauty of tradition, and the promise of the future had all combined to create a day that would forever mark their young lives and shape their understanding of their roles within the royal family. Prince George walked out of Westminster Abbey with a new sense of his own place in the grand tapestry of British history. At 9 years old, he had witnessed traditions that stretched back nearly 1,000 years, and he had played his own small but significant part in continuing that legacy. His careful behavior throughout the ceremony had shown a maturity beyond his years, suggesting a young boy beginning to understand the responsibilities that would one day be his. Princess Charlotte emerged from the Abbey with her natural grace enhanced by the confidence that comes from successfully handling a challenging situation. Her perfect posture, attentive behavior, and genuine wonder at the ceremony's beauty had charmed everyone who watched her. The experience had taught her valuable lessons about composure, tradition, and the importance of her family's role in British society. Even little Prince Louis, despite his occasional restlessness, had absorbed more than anyone might have expected. The grandeur of Westminster Abbey, the serious behavior of all the adults around him, and the special attention his family had received throughout the day had made deep impressions on his young mind. Years later, he would remember fragments of this day, the music, the colors, the feeling of being part of something much larger than himself. Kate felt a profound sense of accomplishment as they prepared to leave the Abbey. She had successfully guided her 3 children through one of the most demanding public appearances of their young lives, helping them maintain their dignity while still allowing their personalities to shine through. The balance between royal, protocol, and natural parenting had been perfectly struck, earning admiration from observers around the world. William carried with him a deep satisfaction at how his family had handled this historic day. His children had represented the monarchy with honor while still being authentically themselves. The sight of them together in Westminster Abbey, participating in ceremonies that his own ancestors had experienced, filled him with pride and hope for the institution's future. The images captured that day would become iconic representations of the modern royal family. Photographs of the children's wonder-filled faces, their careful attention to protocol, and their natural interactions with their parents would be treasured by the British public and royal watchers worldwide. These pictures would appear in history books, documentaries, and exhibitions for generations to come. The experience had strengthened the bond between family members as they shared something so significant together. The children had seen their parents in their most formal royal roles, while William and Kate had watched their children rise to meet extraordinary expectations. The mutual support and love displayed throughout the day had been evident to everyone present, and would be remembered as one of the ceremony's most touching aspects. For the British public, seeing the royal children handle such a momentous occasion with grace and natural charm had reinforced confidence in the monarchy's future. The sight of Prince George's serious attention, Princess Charlotte's perfect behavior, and Prince Louis's irrepressible personality had created a narrative of hope and continuity that resonated far beyond the Abbey's ancient walls. The international audience that watched the ceremony had been equally impressed by the royal family's performance. The way the children had been included in such an important event, while being allowed to remain authentically young, had struck viewers as both respectful of tradition and refreshingly modern. This balance would influence how royal families around the world approached similar occasions. As they left Westminster Abbey that day, each member of the royal family carried with them memories that would last a lifetime. The children had learned invaluable lessons about duty, tradition, and their own roles within something much larger than any individual. They had seen history being made and had played their own parts in creating moments that would be studied and celebrated for centuries to come. The day's impact extended far beyond the immediate ceremony. It had introduced the royal children to the world in a formal way, showing them as poised, well-behaved, and genuinely likable young people. It had demonstrated William and Kate's skills as both parents and royal figures, capable of balancing family needs with public duties. Most importantly, it had shown the British monarchy's continued relevance and appeal to new generations. The legacy of this day would continue to unfold for years to come. The children would grow up with the memory of their first major royal ceremony, understanding from personal experience the weight of their heritage and the expectations placed upon them. They had been initiated into the highest levels of royal life, and they had met the challenge with flying colors, promising a bright future for the institution they would one day lead.